Hi everyone. I know I haven't made a video in such a long time, but I was making one of the flowers that I've done, and I've made a purple one, but the original one was like a reddish, goldish color, and it was very popular. Sorry, it was very popular, especially on Pinterest, which I thank everyone for loving it. And so I decided to make a different version. It seems like purple is a color that everyone loves. So I did it in purple. Um, and I just wanted to show you guys how I did it. So, excuse me. I have, this is an 8-inch frame, and I have some plastic canvas. I also have my scissors and some pipe cleaners, preferably the color that you're gonna do. I'm doing purple, so I have the purple mesh already cut. Cut my 21-inch mesh, and then I also have some 10-inch mesh, which is the lighter purple. And I cut this also. I cut this in 10, this is 10 by 10, or it's so hard to find a 10-inch, a true 10-inch roll. So most of the time they're 12 inches. So 12 by 10 is fine, because you're gonna cut like this, and you'll cut off the ends. You've probably seen several videos that you've done this petal fold in a lot of them, but I decided to go ahead and just do this for you. The 21-inch, I got a mess. I was cutting. This is about 19 inches, 19, 20 inches in width. Yeah, about 20 inches in width. This is a 21-inch. And the way that I determined that, I'm gonna turn around and grab my mesh. I sort of determined the length is the way that I could fold. So I take the 21-inch and I take it and I make sure that this will fold over into a triangle like this. And that's how and then I cut down. So I already pre-cut mine. I don't have my my wood burner heated up. So I'm just showing you. So I usually take it and I cut it to make sure that I have a triangle. So like this, so that you know where to cut. And it's about 20 inches in length. And I just cut it straight down. You know, I always do things backwards. I should start off, and I guess for the sake of the video, I'll start off. I start off and I cut the inside of the ring because we're gonna have a middle part. And let's see if we can get this done. I wanna hold you guys off by just watching me cut plastic grid. So I'll just kind of cut it in a square just so I can get get the space. I tried to buy a longer one, and I got this from Hobby Lobby so that I can make a couple of the middles. I always start to make a flower and don't have this plastic grid. So I figured I'll get a bigger one this time. So our goal is to cut around here. These are my good scissors. I messed them up by cutting stuff. So now, I guess I could use them. If you have a marker or something available to you, let's see if I have something. You can just kind of go around the edge so that you can be in the inside of the circle. We'll make a circle out of this. It doesn't really matter. Remember so I'm just gonna cut that. Here, cover that up anyway. Excuse me. Hope everyone's ready for Christmas. I haven't started Christmas shopping. My kids are saying, hey, mommy, There's only 10 days left to Christmas and there's no gifts under the tree. And I'm like, yeah, I know. My excuse is I'm telling them that they don't really deserve Christmas gifts. Especially my son, who keeps having me called up to his school. So after you do that, I'm just gonna round this off a little bit. After you do that, you're gonna take a couple of the zip ties and you're gonna just attach it onto the back. To the inner ring. I tried this flower with bigger frames, and because it's a 21-inch, it looked awkward, or it was really, really huge. And it didn't have the same effect. Maybe a 10-inch would be okay, but it didn't have the same effect. If you decide to do this with smaller mesh, of course, you're probably gonna have different smaller layers, or having to do multiple layers. This one has 3 layers, so it's not really hard to do. I have green, and it should be okay because you're gonna cover the back with, making sure I'm on top of there. You're gonna cover the back with the felt, so it shouldn't show through. And with this one, you can make the plastic grid sturdy by putting a lot of zip ties, but the inner layers are going to attach close to the on the plastic grid. So if you don't have enough of them, or you don't want to go through all of this, then it would still be secure once you start putting your different start adding your petals to the middle. I'll add one more. Sorry. I always have this glass down over my table because I like to use the wood burner more. And so I have it so it's available. I don't have to keep grabbing it. So I'm gonna cut this off. Don't use your good pair. I don't know where my wire cutters or anything is at. I never do, right? So I'll show you the fold. So we have this. This is what we're gonna have. I'm gonna kind of put that to the side. And so the first is this purple that I'm doing. I found that it's the purple 21-inch that Michaels have, and it's really thin. This is a little thicker than that one. So I guess it's more of a poly mesh, not poly burlap, but more of a poly mesh, which is a little thicker. And I found that actually works a little better, excuse me, when doing this flower so that your petals aren't as flimsy. So if you have that thicker mesh, this is the flower you may want to use it on versus that thinner one, because the flowers can start to flop a little bit. So I'm folding this in a triangle. As I said, we've seen this fold before. Your biggest goal is to make sure that you have the top of the triangle, and see if you can get this whole 21-inch in the frame. The top of your flower pretty lined up. May not work exactly perfect because this is 21 inches, but that's the main goal. So then I'm gonna just take the one corner and go down to the other. I'm folding down and I'm taking the other one. What I find a lot of times is this ends up being a little lopsided, so I may have to adjust as I'm bringing this in. So I kind of move this over and I'm just gathering my center. So sometimes for me it doesn't look like it's even, so it's an easy fix to that. So you're just moving. See how I'm just shifting this? Because I want the petal or the bubble in the petal to look even around. And it's a big petal. It's a huge petal. So this is what we're getting. This is the petal we're getting. You can kind of shape it. In the back a little bit, you may see that. It's okay. It's gonna lay flat up against the back of this, so you won't see it. You just don't want a lot of this hanging. You don't want to get in a habit. I can bring up where I'm going to attach the petal more, but then it makes my petal a little smaller. That's why I'm trying, when I adjust it some, I'm trying to avoid having that in the back. So when you move it around and you see you have a lot of that overlap right there, that's what I'm doing, just adjusting that back half. And then I'm just kind of moving. I'm flattening out the center so it could look like a petal. I take a pipe cleaner, I'm going down, and I'm just gonna attach. You don't want to twist it too many times because then it won't lay on there. And I went down, let's see, I left, the tail of this is about 8 inches. So that means the actual petal looks like right about 10 inches. That makes sense? I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, it's about 10 inches. I left about 8 inches down. Depends on how wide you want your petal. Or how long, not wide. Okay, I'll do another one. So again, I'm taking the 21 inch and I'm folding it over into a triangle. I push it out. I'm making sure that it's pushed out as much as possible, stretched out. And I'm taking the one corner and I'm going over to the bottom corner. Again, want that flat as I'm coming. And I'm doing the same thing with this one. I'm taking it and I'm meeting the two. Usually when we're doing these petals, we want to scrunch right here so that we can get it tight. I want this petal to be pretty loose and fuller, so I'm pushing in. I don't know if you can see this. I'm just taking it and I'm pushing in to the center so that I could get that. Again, I'm taking a pipe cleaner and I'm just adjusting to make sure it's not too much of a bubble and that the center looks like a petal. Again, when you do this, you may notice you get this. That is not completely into the back, but that's okay because it's gonna lay flat. It's gonna lay it on your wreath ring. I'm doing the exact same thing for the 10-inch. So we could do a 10-inch. And if you have a thinner one, this is a little thinner than the other one. This is where you could do a double petal. So you take one of the inner one. This is 10 by 10 or 12 by 10. You take the second one. And this is just creating a double petal. I'm stretching it to get this exact same thing. I'm just holding it so that I can make sure it lines up with the one before that, if you can see. And I'm just stretching them out. Again, I want this to be a little bigger than normal. Like when I do the butterfly, I make sure that I bring it in tighter. When I do, actually this has 2 rings, it has 2 rows, but I do a little small third one to make sure that when I put the, I'm using the tubing for the middle, I may stick in a couple of the other ones and I make it a little smaller. So again, I'm taking it and I am scrunching it together. I'm not the best at scrunches, so I have to adjust sometimes. So I'm just adjusting to make sure I have my petal fold. I did the 2 just to make it a little thicker. This one is only 1, so you can see the difference. You don't really see through this. You see through this one, you don't see through that one. So it's up to you if you want it to be thicker. And again, I'm taking the pipe cleaner and attaching it. Again, this petal is about 4 inches. So that I'm taking off about 5 inches. So 4 inches. Let's make sure that I do the same. So 4. I went down a little longer on this one. Let's see. It looks about the same though. Right? No. This one looks bigger. But let me read that again. 4. Okay, it's the same. I was misreading. Then I'm cutting, I'm using my thumb and just the tip of my thumb. From the tip of my thumb, I'm cutting right underneath there so we can have this. Same thing with the bigger petals. I'm taking the tip of my thumb and I'm cutting across right underneath it. Again, the tip. And you want to make sure that the larger petals are the same size. It's easy to get confused or have them so they're about the same size. I am around the outer ring. I will add green mesh for the leaves, but we're going to start this way. So I just go to the center bar. I'm sorry, the center crossbar on the second row. That is where I'm going with these larger petals. I believe I cut 10 of them across. Sorry, I cut 10 of the larger petals. Put it on, and I'm just twisting. So we have that. The thinner the mesh, the more you're gonna get that flop. But at the end, what you'll do is attach all of them together, and it's gonna tighten it up. If you like, you could take it when you put it on. You can do a double tie around to make sure that it's secure on here. I usually start by doing all the crossbars first. So I'm gonna go around like this and do all the crossbars. And we have something like this. Sometimes I've done it, this petal looks really fluffy or wider. So you may have to readjust as you go to make sure, but as you add more petals in the middle, it may adjust perfectly. I'm gonna put this to the side because I didn't pre-do these. I should have beforehand. So again, I'm taking this into a square. And I am just stretching it out. Stretching it out. And I'm crossing one. I'm crossing this down. And again, I'm gonna show you if I could do it this way. I'm pushing from the back half, I don't know if you see, pushing from the back half in, and kind of got it flipping up, pushing. And just adjust them to make sure my middle part is sticking in. Okay? I'm gonna put around the first ring and I'll be back. So I put these all the way around. I left one to do. And when I was doing it, I realized this is actually an order for someone. I realized that I did a double petal for them. I know in the beginning I showed you that I did a double petal in the light purple, but I went back and did one with the dark purple on the back and a light purple. And I think I'm just gonna kind of mix it in. We'll see how it goes. But let me show you all that again. So because I had some of these already made up, I went along and I cut the 10-inch. Actually, I used the 21-inch that I had, and I just cut it in 10 by the 21, and then I cut that in half. So it may not be exactly a 10-inch, but it's okay. And I did it with my scissors just because, you know, we're gonna cut the end of it, so it doesn't really matter. It's not gonna fray or anything. So I just, if you realize once you start doing one that you, maybe a double petal would be better. You could just take, I already cut this and everything, so it's fine. But remember, you take the first color that you want to do, you're gonna fold it in a triangle, I'm again stretching it out a little bit, and I'm taking the one I already had. I'm just finding my center part, and I'm lining it up in the middle. And I'm just making sure that it's right on top of each other, if you can see. The light purple, dark purple. I'm lining it up. I already cut this, so I already know where it's gonna be cut. And I'm folding over again. And the reason my hand is pressed down so hard is because I want them to be lined exactly to the thing, so it won't pull out. It just looks like the petal is doubled up. So again, I did that fold in to the middle. I'm just fixing the middle part right there. And I'm going to put the one that I had on already on here. May have cut this too little. The purple mesh that I have, the darker purple mesh that I have is pretty thick. It's more of a, I think that not paper, it's a poly mesh or something. So it's a little thicker. So now I have the two petals in together with the purple on the back and the darker purple on the back and the lighter purple. And then I'm just cutting the end of it off. So I'm not sure if I want to, let me adjust my camera a little better so that you can see. See if I can lift up a little more and then come down. Oh no. Did too far. So you can see a little better. So I think I'm gonna keep these all that color. I do have one more to put in, so I need to cut that. And then I think this inner layer, I'm gonna make the double petal. I think it should be fine. So let me go ahead and do that. So I'm going for this layer, so I'm just going closer because when I use the plastic tubing, the mesh tubing, or is it, what is it? The tubing, it's only a little small area. So I'm going in and I'm going in between, and I'm coming as close, and I'll try to measure out. I'm going in between that last row that I did. I'm trying to stay in the center. My pipe cleaner might be too long. So I'm coming just like this. So all I'm gonna have is a smaller circle right here to add the tubing. You could skip this, and if you want a bigger tubing, or if you want the ball in there, you could definitely do that. So I'm just gonna go right over there. My goal is really to, and I may have to adjust, sometimes I do it and realize I made the space either uneven or I've made it too small. So I'm trying to make sure I stay in a circle. Let's see. Going over it. My main goal is to make sure that I'm like covering up the layer from before. So you can, because I use the silver, and even if you use the same color, you may end up seeing that. And that's what I'm making sure when I do this last row, that I'm covering up the row before. Hopefully I cut enough. And as I said, it's a really small section for the center area. Maybe I have to go back a little more. It's not an exact science. Sometimes I get it right, and a lot of times I have to adjust it. So I won't necessarily tighten it completely in the back. Because I do need to have some room, and it looks like I probably probably have two, I'm probably too far in the center. So I'll probably go back and adjust these and come a little bit closer to the ones before. Sometimes I make the middle petal a little smaller, and I made these all kind of the same sizes. That's why I thought that I needed to go out some. I'm just gonna readjust this and come back just a little bit. Just a little bit in between those. Because I do want to center. So I'm just going back a little bit. Gotta find a pipe cleaner. I'm just stepping back a little bit. And maybe when I flip it over, I can actually measure how far it is. And it's not an exact science, so it depends on how you put yours on. The back. I'm coming in a little closer, you can see, to where the initial one was. Just straighten out this pipe cleaner. Still too far. And if you like, you can, the ends, when you cut the ends for the center petals, you can cut them down closer. But be careful when doing that, because you don't want to cut too much that your pipe cleaner can easily slide off. So I'll push these back some so I can have more of the center. I'm gonna do just all of these. And then we could count them up and see how many I actually used. I don't have enough made, so I'll make a few more. Pipe cleaners can scratch you up. Let's see. I am tightening them now because I think I found my right placement. And I'm moving them over a little more. This one may need to be adjusted a little. Looks good. I'm gonna cut out a few more and then finish this up, and then we could finish the middle. I cut a couple more pieces so that I could do. I did fill in that last one that I was talking about before. So I'm just going to continue to put in the rest of these really quickly, and then we can do the middle really quick. Let's see. So again, I didn't zoom through this part or try to speed through this part to show you just because I wanted to show you how close I did get the center part. I tried to adjust my camera a little more so that you all could see more of an overview, but I guess me holding it up isn't making it any better. So I'm just going a little closer into those because I do, again, I want that little center in there. I only cut out 4 more, but it looks like, let's see, let's hope that this is gonna be enough. I might need 1 more to go in here. I'm gonna stand up so that I can get this really good. I want these pretty close together, pretty tight together, because I'm trying to hide any pipe cleaner that might be lurking in the background. Right. Okay. A pipe cleaner sticking out everywhere in the back. See if I can adjust this. I'm gonna move this one over. That's the bad thing sometimes when you have wreaths that have a lot of cutting. You just want to be done with the cutting. So you try to make do, unless that absolutely isn't gonna happen. See if I can get this one out and kind of move these a little closer. Might need 1 more. Yeah. I shouldn't try it. Looks like I need 1 more, right? Just adjusting these. If you're not gonna do it right, why do it right? Yeah. Looks like I cut 1 more. That should be good. Okay, 1 more. Adding the last one, and then I'll tell you how many are in this part. I'm not a purple girl, but when I'm making these, I'm like, I'm loving purple. Like, just loving the way it shimmers or something. I don't know. But I'm not generally a purple person. But okay, so we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 in the inner circle. And let's double check again. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 12 on the outer circle. I may be able to fit 1 more in here because I see a little gap right there. So I might, so that's 12, but we may add another one. And then it was 12 of the bigger petals. The way that I did the center with the tubing, let me sit back down. So this is just the little tubing that I have. I have the gold. I found this one that was like part fabric and what you call this, plastic. And I loved it, and I can't find it again. So I hate that. So I'm just taking, plenty of people have videos on this, on how to wrap it. So I'm just going around my hand, and I'm gonna wrap a couple of times. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. I'm gonna wrap it, pull it off of my hand. I'm kind of upside down. I'm looking into the camera, so it looks upside down. And then I'm just pulling it together to make that. I'm gonna take a zip tie, and I'm going from the back, right in the center, and going through. Every time I do this, I always say, oh, maybe I should have done this first, but I never know exactly how big. And I'm pushing through right around this. Let's see if we can flip it over. So I'm going as close as possible, if you can see that, to the first hole, because the further you go apart, it won't gather together, that center mesh part. So can you see this? And then I'm just gonna tie it. Tighten it, not tie it. Every time I do a video, I'm like, I should get my nails done. Showing my beat up hands, but you know. Is it a waste of money? Because I paint too, so if you can see that, how close I go together, the holes are pretty close together. But watch me see. And I'm just gonna cut that off. And this is, I got stuff everywhere. And this is what I'm getting. I'm gonna do it again. And I know sometimes people do 3 around, I'm doing 4. I wanna just cover it up, 2, 3, 4 around. Again, I'm taking it off of my hand, smashing it down. And I'm not going on the side of it, I'm just going behind it, behind the first one. And I'm not sure if you guys are really able to see this with the camera view. You can easily cut and just put it in instead of keep going. If you know how big you want it, you can always just do this ahead of time. Again, I'm going through the back half, and I'm pulling it through. I am closing this gap pretty close. I'm trying to go to the one that is the closest to the one I put in first, so that it will be pulled together. And because I'm using green, I don't want you to be able to see that green. So again, I went to the hole on the plastic grid as close as possible to the one that I initially put in. Zip ties and I have not been getting along lately. I don't know what's going on. I haven't been able to pull them through as easy. What's going on here? And it is in the right way. So I'm pulling it as tight as I can. Let me cut it off. Again, this is kind of what we're having in the center. And I'm just gonna keep going around and try to go in the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. I could probably even do 5 or more just to get it done. I'm just gonna stick to what I know. And I'm scrunching down. And now I'm going on the side of that first one that I did. Same thing, sorry I went out of frame. Same thing, I'm going close to the other one, pulling it through, pushing it through. We'll go around where I was. Push it back through. You could cut these as you go, or you could cut them at the end. I got the thing stuck. This is what we're having. I normally go all the way up here because again, we need to cover up that those pipe cleaners that's on the inner ring. And I'm just going to the other side. I'm looking for my finger. That way I know exactly where the one is in front of it. So you're gonna do a lot of flipping back and forth, or you could just, some people are able to just feel through. I just wanna make sure that I'm getting them close together. So that's why I'm doing the flipping. This is what you don't want to happen, that they're at the opposite ends, because then, you know, if the zip tie is not facing the right way, then you can't zip it. Find it. Making centers is not something strong for me. I'm still working on that. I believe Julie has a full tutorial on how to do the centers with the tubing. And I'm sure a lot of people have that, but I watch Julie's Wreath a lot, so I know for sure she has it. I have mesh everywhere. All right, I won't bore you. I'm just gonna keep going around till I fill this in. It's not a lot more. Okay, I have the center done. It's looking really pretty. If you all can see, I just did a little section. I went in around making sure that you couldn't see the pipe cleaners right here, but I think it turned out really pretty. So what I had left to do, and you could do this beforehand, a lot of times I end up adding my leaves at the end. So I already started. I'm gonna move this to the side. So I made one. It's really simple, and if you made any other flowers, you pretty much have done this already. For this flower, I don't put leaves all the way around. I just put 3 bundles. So by bundles, I mean 3 of these, and just make it kind of stick out. So I have, this is actually the poly burlap that I use because I haven't found any mesh, sorry, any mesh that was this color that I really like. So it works out fine. For some of the flowers, if you use the poly burlap behind some mesh, it makes it thicker. But this flower, you want it to kind of push, push up so it gets sit. So I just take, and I had 21-inch roll. I cut it 11 and a half. At least I tried. So one, and then I cut it by 12 or 11 and a half. So I try to make it a little larger than the petal well, the length of that petal coming off, because this is going on a very top ring. So I'll just show you, if you haven't seen it, I stretch this out a little more. Stretch this out before I fold it. There's not really a science to it, because the poly burlap, am I saying it right? The poly burlap it can expand a little bit. So I just folded the two corners together, and I'm just pushing it together just to make this. It is a little thicker, so it's harder to grab it like that. So just know. And I'll try to straighten this out as much as possible, just so I can have that look. And then I'm gonna take the other one, well, let's see, I kind of bend that up. Take the other one, do the same thing, stretch it out some. And again, I'm bringing the two corners. This was the very end of the roll. So I hope I had enough to cover the full, to do the full coverage of the wreath. So I only have 3, which is usually what I do. So again, I scrunch that together. And as much as possible, I want these leaves to be bigger so they can show in the back. And I take the first one to the second one, like this, and then I just go around. I'm wrapping it around. Again, if you do other flowers, I've seen a couple other people videos. A lot of people do their bunches like this just to get a fuller effect. Let's see if I got a pipe cleaner. I then just take the pipe cleaner in between where my finger is pinched, between the two, and I'm grabbing it. Because you're pulling it. You could do a different type of leaf. You could scrunch it together. You can go in a triangle. So, and I'm just twisting. So this is what I have once I do that. And like I said, I want it to spread. It looks full, although I'm doing only 3 of them in the back. Once you have it, yeah, no one likes the end of the roll, right? Because that's what happens. So it'll look like this. And here's the other ones. So I have 3 of them. Okay. And I'll probably just, for this sake, I haven't cleaned the back up yet. I'll just probably find the crossbars, go in, and attach it to the top. The top bar. And I'm pulling down. You all know that I'm backwards. I should have did this beforehand, before even starting the petals. This may not be long enough. Let's see. I'm attaching it to the 3 crossbars that's on this frame. I'm just pulling it down. And twisting it. Let's see if you're able to see them. Yeah, it may not be long enough to kind of show. Let's see. Let me stand up and see. Yeah, I don't see them. And the main goal for this, I may be able to do it longer, and may be able to get away with the shorter version because the petals are what stands out. And if they're in the center, showing through the center, or in between the different petals, then that's what I want. So I'm just pulling it. I know right here you can't see the angle of the camera, you can't see the leaves being in between, but I'll hang it up and we'll see how it goes. I'm flipping it back over. And right now I just want to clean up this back. And how I do that, I'm just twisting the pipe cleaners together in the back so that they can lay down. I'm probably gonna cut this. So I just wanna clean this up, tighten it up. Remember, the bigger leaves are still move a little bit because they're freely on there. So I normally attach the top one to the next one, going towards the center part. If your pipe cleaners don't reach to the next one, you definitely could just go around and attach them, but you want to make sure that the petals aren't moving around. So I'm gonna clean this up. I'll have it all cleaned up. I'll show you the next step instead of you standing here waiting. Hold on.